this is part 2 of the plant pot making project, and I'm going to show you how to use this piece of clay to make a pinch pot. So you can begin by just tapping those corners and squeezing it a little bit to make it into approximately a round shape. And then you can start rolling between your hands, making your hands go round and round in little circles. You can also use the smooth hard surface of your table to do this. So keeping your hand flat, roll in your clay in circles, circular motion, going round and round. Look for those parts where there's little creases or little bumps and move your clay around so those bumps and creases are against the table, and you'll find that they start to heal and those will go away. And keep rolling round and round until you've got a nice smooth sort of tennis ball shaped piece of clay. Okay, so I'm just going to tap those parts where I see that it's a little bit irregular, and there I've got a nice smooth round ball. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change that shape slightly. I'm going to have my fingers flat again, but my hands at an angle like this, and I'm using my right hand because I'm right-handed, and I'm just going to go forwards and backwards, and occasionally I'm just going to tap round the edges of the narrower side. And then because my hand is at an angle, I'm getting one part that's a little bit thinner and one part that's fatter. At this end it's fatter and this part is thinner, so it's beginning to look a little bit like an ice cream cone, but with a nice rounded end. That's why I keep doing the tapping to make sure that end is nice and rounded. So now I've got a shape like this. It's nice and round with a smaller end and a fatter end, and I'm ready to open it up. To open it up, I'm just going to use my thumb and push the clay, turning it round with my left hand. I'm right-handed, so I find it easier to use my finger and thumb to my right hand to make that hole like that. And you can see it's looking a little bit like a cup, so I keep pinching that, making the walls thinner, and I'm feeling all over inside, right down to the very base, and all over the walls, making the whole wall a little bit thinner, trying to make the wall the same thickness all over. So I don't want to go too fast, just pinching out a little bit at a time, making it thinner, and the pot's getting a bit bigger. So I'm just going to test the thickness, and I can go a little bit thinner than that. It needs to be about the thickness of my pinky finger. I don't want to go too much thinner than my pinky finger, otherwise the pot will crack and break. So we want to keep the walls fairly flat, but I can feel like I can pinch that more inside. So I keep turning it round, supported in my left hand, and pinching that wall a little bit thinner. I'm just going to push it on the table and feel for the base too. Turn it round so I get a nice round shape. and you can look at the shape that you've got. I want it to be a little bit of a tummy, so you can make it a little bit fatter, like the pot fatter, but the walls are getting thinner. So keep working that, and that is just about the side as far as I'm going to go. I want to just rounding off the base a little bit. Maybe I can make the base just a tiny bit thinner. There. So the edge is about as thick as my pinky finger. I didn't want it to get any thinner than that. So you can see there's a few little cracks around the edge and maybe a few little cracks in your clay, because the heat from our hands makes the clay dry out quite quickly. So you can use a little bit of water. Here you want to use a minimum amount of water for this, but I'm just going to use one finger. I don't really want to use more than that. I want to use as little as possible, otherwise it's going to make my clay very soft and icky. But I can smooth away any of those cracks, heal the surface, and look for other cracks too. I'm not going to do too much now because I can feel the clay is still very soft, and later on, a few hours later, you might want to finish this job off when your clay is a little bit harder. This one is what we call leather hard. It's not totally dry, but it's dried out quite a bit to make it quite nice and stiff, and I can just maybe use my fingernail to make an indent in it, but I can't change the shape dramatically, but I can always smooth the surface with my fingers. So now we'll just leave this like that.